Partner ready?
Yeah.
Opponents ready?
Yes.
Judge ready? Okay. Time will begin now. America is one of the best and brightest countries in the world. Our country is founded on geniuses and prodigies. Does that mean we should let almost anybody into the country? Although the immigration process is already very long and arduous, we have to ensure that our country remains safe and successful. Hi, my name is Elizabeth Jack, and my partner Call and I affirm the resolution. Immigration is defined by Merriam-Webster as an act or instance of immigrating, specifically travel into a country for the purpose of permanent residence there. My partner and I affirm the resolution for three main reasons. Number one, we hurt not only Americans but also immigrants when too many people immigrate. Number two, immigration damages the economy. And number three, by restricting legal immigration, we are allowing in people who make the country better. Going back to my first contention, we not only hurt Americans but also immigrants when too many people immigrate. According to The Economist, America could become demographically swamped if too many people enter the country. In other words, we would be dealing with overpopulation. Also, countries lacking in the culture of capitalism usually end up floundering in American society. In other words, people who aren't equipped to the U.S. climate and the society of capitalism usually end up having trouble succeeding in our society. Immigration is also depleting our resources. When immigration first became a large thing in the early 1900s, we weren't offering things like healthcare and food stamps. Now, since we're ending up depleting our resources. Also, according to fairus.org, since 1970, the U.S. population has reached more than 203 million residents and added more than 100 million residents. This has resulted in resource shortages, ecological degradation, and urban congestion. This not only affects Americans, but also immigrants. Immigration also damages the economy. According to Politico, when the supply of workers goes up, the price of that firms have to pay for workers go down. There's been a 10% increase in the number of workers, and that lowers the wage of that group by 3%. So while there might be more jobs, they're actually losing a lot of money that could have been gone to our economy. Also, immigrants with no high school diploma or less have increased the size of the low-skilled workforce by 25%. As a result, earnings have dropped by between $800 and $1,500. Also, according to CIS.org, immigrants do not pay enough in taxes to cover the consumption of public services, which can cause a fiscal drainage as large as $299 billion a year. Our third and final contention is that by restricting legal immigration, we are allowing people who make the country better into our country. A more select system of immigration would allow people in with a higher set of skills and a better education. According to Time, a selective source of immigration would allow immigrants in based on things like age, education, English ability, salary, and investments. According to CNN, 1 million immigrants have been detained because of crime they've been accused of. Also, according to LA Times, one legal immigrant killed 14 people and injured 22 in the San Bernardino shooting. Although this doesn't apply to all immigrants, we have to ensure that our country remains safe and sound. And by having a more select system of immigration, we will be ensuring this. For these reasons, my partner and I affirm the resolution. We have three main contentions. Number one, we hurt not only Americans but also immigrants when too many people immigrate. Number two, immigration damages the economy. And number three, by restricting legal immigration, we are allowing in people who make the country better. For these reasons, we urge you to vote pro. Thank you.
So we're going to have 2 minutes of
Wait, is it?
conversation.
Yeah, that's first. That's first. Yeah.
Alright. My time begins now. In your first contention about overpopulation, and you talked about something about climate change. Is this
No.
economic climate or ecological climate?
Not economic climate, I'm sorry. I'm talking about like American climate, like I didn't say climate, I said like society and like culture.
You said the word climate.
I don't recall saying climate.
Okay, so what are you talking about then?
I'm talking about when people from other countries come into this country, they're not usually used to they're not used to what American lifestyles is like, so they usually end up floundering.
Okay, So it's more of a social climate.
Yes.
Okay. And you said there was.
They also say that illegal immigrants go in and
Your statistic about the high school diploma, could you give that to me again?
So immigrants with no more than a high school diploma, without a high school diploma, increase the size of the low-skilled workforce by 25%.
Okay, so immigrants, okay.
And in section 3, they talk about reunification and how they will carry families.
Do you know what the chances of being of a U.S. citizen being killed in a terrorist attack by an immigrant is?
No, I do not.
They talk about how
Why should English be a qualification for someone to enter the United States?
Well, it can help them succeed in American societies.
apply for a loan, you're also
It'll
How so?
It'll make them easier to get jobs because they already know what it's like to live in America.
and then so then the money cannot spend money on other important programs.
Judge ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Alright. My time begins now. Hello, my name is Bryce and this is my partner Sean. We strongly negate the resolution which states that increased restrictions on legal immigration by the U.S. is beneficial. We would like to define two terms first. The H-1B is a high-skilled worker visa. Brain drain is the flow of intelligent people from one country to one or more countries, usually in search of a better standard of living, quality of life, higher pay, access to advanced technology, and more stable political conditions. Our two contentions are benefits to economic productivity and brain drain. Contention 1, economic productivity. Immigration is integral to the nation's economic growth. The inflow of labor supplies help the United States avoid the problems facing other countries that have stagnated as a result of unfavorable demographics. In addition, the infusion of human capital by high-skilled immigrants has boosted the nation's capacity for innovation and technological change. According to Kerr & Kerr in their literature survey, educated Americans are customers rather than competitors with new arrivals. George Boras found that between 1980 and 2000, Mexican immigrants have no effect on the overall native wage in the long run. The reason for this is that immigration changes what jobs employers need to fill, and immigrants create not only a supply of labor, but a demand for it as well. Therefore, a larger domestic population creates more potential customers for business. The National Academy of Sciences recently issued the physical consequences of immigration. The Academy found that the willingness of less skilled immigrants to work at low paid reduced consumption costs, that is, the cost for healthcare, childcare, construction, and food preparation and house cleaning for millions of Americans. In the 2011-2013 period, the net cost to state and local budgets of first-generation adults is about $1,600 each. In contrast, second and third generation adults create a net positive of $1,700 and $1,300 respectively. Over the course of the year, this is a net benefit of $30.5 billion and $223.8 billion respectively. Attention to brain drain. In 2005, 2 years after Samir Sanjay arrived in the United States from India to pursue an MBA, he was excited to learn that an Oregon firm had sponsored his green card and hired him. 12 years later, Sanjay is still a data architect and still working at the same firm and still waiting for that green card. Today, many Indians, a vital pillar of U.S. hospitals, tech firms, and engineering, are considering not immigrating to the United States. There are 2.4 million Indian nationals living in the United States, including roughly 1 million that are scientists and engineers. Hundreds of thousands of these depend on impermanent visas that have to be renewed frequently. Changes in the U.S. visa scheme could trigger a large economic and intellectual loss, and this change has already started. Since Trump's election, the number of Indian-born residents in the United States searching for jobs back in India has climbed more than tenfold. A consulting firm, Deloitte Touche Tomastu, found 4 out of 10 U.S. colleges say they've seen a sharp drop in international applicants for the fall term, especially among applicants from India and China, the main sources of high-skilled immigrants. Nearly 127,000 Indians were given H-1B visas to work in the United States in the 2016 fiscal year. Most of these 8,500 documents go to outsourcing companies, and these firms recruit foreigners with college diplomas and have them work in technical jobs. For years, tech companies such as Microsoft and Google have pressed the government to raise the number of visas allotted, saying they can't find enough Americans to do these jobs. Frank Sherry, the executive director of America's Voice, had an excellent summary of this debate. On the fringes of the immigration debate, you have the nativists peddling fears and falsehoods. But for those who operate on a facts-based reality, there is a growing body of credible research demonstrating the benefits of immigration and the burdens of restrictions on it. For these reasons, I strongly urge a con ballot.
Earlier you said something about how the lawyer doesn't need to do this. Well,
Thank you for taking time. I've not stopped recording my timeline. So now we're going to have 2 minutes of
prep time. Yeah, I just need to write one more thing down.
And that it's causing a lot of attacks. And yeah, that's it. Can we have some prep time?
Partner ready?
Yeah.
Opponents ready?
Yes.
Judge ready? Time will begin now. Can you please explain what an H-1B and brain flow is again?
Yes, an H-1B is a high-skilled worker visa. This is issued to educated immigrants. And brain drain is the flow of intelligent people out from one country to one or more countries, usually in search of a better standard of living and quality of life, higher salaries, access to advanced technology, and more stable political conditions.
Okay. So, you talk about in your first contention how immigrants can improve innovation in America. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, because many of these immigrants are educated and they are getting jobs in technical firms, and engineering especially, they are designing new things and inventions that are helping Americans every day.
Do you have a statistic or source for that information?
No. However, I can tell you that
That's okay.
you don't want an answer to that?
Well, does it apply to the question I asked you?
Yes, actually.
Okay.
Just let me find it. Let's see. It was. Yes, there are roughly 1 million people from India alone that are employed as scientists and engineers.
Okay. Do you have a source for that?
That was, I believe that was the Cato Institute.
Okay. In your second contention, you talk about how there's been a drop in applicants from China and India, and you say that is I'm not trying to misquote you, but you're saying that that's basically the main source of very
Well,
innovative.
to be clear, when I said applicants, I'm talking about international applicants to 4 out of 10 U.S. colleges.
That's time.
And India.
Okay, that's fine.
Who's ready? I'm ready. Judge ready? Time. Judge, first I'll go over their connections, and if time permits, I will extend upon our own. First, let's go to the first connection where they try to tell you that immigrants will not succeed in our American society. However, immigrants are, as we tell you in our brain drain convention, immigrants are our scientists, they are our engineers, they are integral to our society. Furthermore, they create businesses They create businesses. According to the Fiscal Policy Institute, a small business owned by immigrants employed 4.7 million people, and the business generated over $776 billion annually. Furthermore, immigrants can create their own jobs. 7.5% of immigrants are self-employed compared to 6.6% of natives. Then they try to tell you that that they're depleting our resources and they're taking away from the welfare state. They're using up our welfare. However, most loyal immigrants do not have access to means-tested welfare state for the first 5 years. Also, immigrants are less likely to use the means-tested welfare because they don't reap as many benefits as native-born workers. They actually reap like 42% less than native workers. Next, let's go on to their second contention where they talk about how wages are dropping. However, we clearly show you in our contention that George Borjas also included in his study that the change for those with high school diplomas actually is almost zero. Like the net decrease is almost zero in the long run, and their statistics are only looking at short term. Are looking at the short term. Furthermore, they try to tell you that immigrants are costly and they don't pay enough taxes. However, high immigrant fertility and the long-run productivity of those born in the United States generates a lot of tax revenue. Immigrants grow the economy considerably and increase the tax revenue. Many immigrants come here when they're very young and work and pay taxes when they're older. So therefore, there's a net positive gain. Let's move to their last contention, where they talk about crime and terrorism. However, they don't really show you the magnitude of this crime, and when we asked them for a statistic, they didn't really. So you can't really look at the big picture here to see how you can't really weigh this information, because they're just picking out examples, but you're not able to see big picture on how big this problem really is. Now, for the next 30 seconds, I'll extend upon our own. First, let's go to my first contention, where I talk about benefits to growth. Immigrants are vital to the economy. We've clearly shown that they are actually going to help our economy. But I want to spend and then our second contention for brain drain. We've clearly shown you that we need these workers in the United States, and we're not getting them. Thank you.
Can we have 30 seconds of prep, please?
You have 30 seconds right now?
Alright, that's it. Alright.
Unless you want more time, it's up to you.
That's fine. Alright, opponent ready?
So now we're going to have the pro attack, and you have 3 minutes.
Oh no, it's cross X.
Hi.
Oh, crossfire, sorry, I'm jumping the gun. So
Opponent ready?
3 minutes.
Partner ready? Judge ready?
Yes, now I am.
Okay, my time starts now. So, you said in your attack speech that that we said that immigrants might not that we said that immigrants would succeed, but we said that they might not succeed. So
No,
don't you agree?
I said that you guys said that immigrants do not succeed in society, and I'm telling you that they do succeed in society.
We said they might not succeed in society.
Okay, that still doesn't negate my point.
Okay, and you also said that that immigrants do not use welfare and they don't need welfare, but they could use welfare if they need to. It's not like
What I'm
immigrants are
saying
lazy.
is that they're not actually reaping as many benefits as you say they are. They're actually reaping as very less benefits than actually native born workers. So they're not really depleting our resources.
But don't you agree with overpopulation? If they use food and land, it just gets really crowded and there's not enough resources for everyone.
I mean, if you're able to show us a statistic that shows that food is decreasing and that we're not people in America are not receiving as much food, then I'd like to see that.
I will. Since 1970, the U.S. population has reached more than 203 million residents, and it added more of 100 million. Our land, it's big, but it cannot sustain that much. Don't you agree that all those people for this piece of land?
No, I do not agree, because what I'm asking you, actually, do you have a question for me? But no, I do not believe that's true.
Okay, and you also said that we don't have a question that you questioned for a statistic, but did you ever question for a statistic? Because we don't remember that, and we still gave a statistic anyway. So did you actually question?
My response was talking about food. Is food going to be enough? How do you know that land is going to be?
In your attack speech, you said that that you questioned for a statistic.
I questioned for a statistic about crime in the United States. Crime and terrorism.
Okay, opponent ready?
We're going to hear your attack speech.
Yeah, partner ready?
3 minutes.
Judge ready?
Yes.
Alright, my time starts now. So, our opponent's first contention was that immigration actually benefits the economy, but we have found research that suggests otherwise. When the supply of workers goes up, the money goes down, because there's so many workers to pay that the money will go down, and that damages the economy. Their benefits and ours that damage outweighs their benefits, because they just said that the net money is $30.5 billion, but they never said that if that we showed that the number was decreasing as more immigrants come in. They just said a random number. Also, for their second contention, they said that it's brain drain and that this man came here, he got a job, but he never got a green card. And they never gave a source for that story. They could have just been making it up. We never know. And they also said that companies want more immigrants. And again, they never gave a source for that either. And they also, with the immigrants, why would they want more immigrants? I'm sure if Bill Gates went up to a homeless man and said, hey, do you want a job with my company? He would say yes. They're just not searching hard enough for Americans. We already have enough talent in this country. We don't need to start getting people from other countries to just come over and help us. We can do this on our own. And also, they just said that that resources are not an issue for America, but but obviously it is an issue if we're increasing because of all these immigrants like crazy. We need to add restrictions to lessen them and be very selective about it. There's this thing called the RAISE Act where it filters people by English speaking, education, salary, and much more. That RAISE Act would filter out probably maybe less than half of the people that are coming in, but it would only take the people that we want, which is why it would only take the people that are smart and that we want in our country, not the criminals, not the ones that, but not the, like, they said that we only gave one example about the terrorist attack, but one is too much. That's too many lives at stake. You can't just allow anyone into our country. We need the RAISE Act, and we need people that would be beneficial to our country, not people that would just tear it down. And that's why I urge you to vote pro.
You're taking
We're
prep.
going to have 2 minutes of customization, or do you need some time to?
Let's take prep.
Okay. How much time do you want? We just do it.
Ask what countries would have citizens that would qualify to move to those places. But don't say it, just set it up. Qualify. What has what is the source? Just the
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. Is anyone not ready? Time starts. Okay, so for our first connection, you said that the supply of workers increases, the wages will decrease, and this outweighs anything we've said so far, correct?
Yes.
How so? How does just that?
Because what you guys gave was just 30.5 billion, but we actually showed that as the amount of immigrants goes up, the amount of money goes down. You guys just gave a number. That could have been less than it was in 2000.
But don't you think more jobs will be created when immigrants come in?
No, because there's only a certain amount of jobs, and there's so many homeless people. Why would you just give it to some random immigrant that comes in?
Which actually gives me to my next question, which is, you talk about Bill Gates and he could hire a homeless person. However, do you think the homeless person is qualified or has the education to work at?
The immigrant might not be qualified either. Only 45% of immigrants actually have college degrees.
Well,
That's
what we're
over half.
saying is, but don't you think that educated individuals from other countries would be more qualified than a homeless person?
I mean, the homeless person might be educated, just had bad luck. I mean, you don't know the stories. And those people from other countries, that's why we said we want to filter them to only get the smart people and the people that would be beneficial to our country.
Which countries citizens would be accepted through the RAISE Act?
You can't base it on the country, you base it on the person. So anyone that is educated and would has solid English speaking, and it doesn't matter what the
Why
country
does it have
is.
to be English speaking? What?
Well, I mean, if someone comes in speaking Hindi and they just come in, they won't know. If someone they won't be able to read signs or anything. It's for them. It's for the good of them. It's not for the good of it will be for the good of our country if they're educated.
But why do they have to know English? Don't you think that if they're a good person, they should be able to come into our country?
They don't have to know English. It's just recommended, and with the
But you just
ratio-
said that the qualification was that you had to know English.
I never said that. I said it's based on English speaking. If they know some words, and again, it's good to know
That's-
English
that's
if you're
fine.
coming to this country.
About Republican lawmakers when we talk about Trump. Those are all people on the same side.
May I have a minute of prep time, please?
Unfortunately, a lot of the times politicians are not academics. So they say a lot of things and there could be merit there. But most of the time the merit is in them themselves. They're not the source. They're people that are relying on them that are the source. I want to hear the economist that told Donald
Pro-defense.
Pro defense.
I want to
Right.
hear immigration
No, it's
that
con.
told Donald Trump.
Oh, that's pro-defense.
That's
That's pro-defense.
what told him to play.
Don't confuse me.
Unfortunately, when we do talk
Can I
about
just have a minute of
Of
prep
course.
time?
1 minute? Okay. Yes, you have already used up a minute.
people that are
You want a
informed by
minute
these
before
sources,
that?
that kind of brings a little
Third,
bit more
how about
controversy
45 seconds?
into the mix. We don't want controversy. I just want to focus on your point. Oops, sorry, that was my own timer. I just want to focus on your point. So when we're talking about scientists and teachers, those people are a lot less controversial and they give you a little bit more weight to your argument when we talk about those facts. So I talked about hows. I think the next step, we have great ideas. I think the next step is talking about why these ideas impact. Why is this important? So, for example, more of illegal immigrants will come if we stop legal immigration. And how do we know that? What is the impact of that? We talked a little bit about impact, but let's link them together. It kind of really strengthens your why it's so important. If you give me a little bit of facts, it's unignorable, you know? But if it's just a statement, it's
Okay, you
better.
3 seconds on that.
We need to go to the upstairs. That'll make you guys a lot stronger. Let's go to
Partner ready?
Yes.
Almost ready?
Let's talk about cross-examination.
Okay. Judge ready?
So,
Okay. Time will begin now.
time to
So,
stump the other
in our
side.
first contention, we said that we hurt not only Americans but also immigrants when too many people come to the country because of overpopulation. Our opponents rebuttal that and say that immigrants may succeed, but we never said that immigrants won't succeed. We said that they might not succeed. They also talk about. They also say that that overpopulation is an issue and we don't provide evidence that shows that we would need drain resources. However, in our first contention, when I do talk about that, I provide evidence that shows that, and my partner brought it up again, that there have been resource shortages, ecological degradation, and urban congestion. Then, in our second contention, I say that immigration damages the economy, and they say it helps the economy. So, but I have evidence that shows that immigration actually damages the economy, and then when the price of workers goes up, the amount goes down. And while they have the same information that shows that it doesn't affect it, it's kind of just like what amount of money is being lost and what amount of money is being gained. And we lost $299 billion just because of per year because of immigrants failing to pay taxes. And then our third and final contention, which is restricting illegal immigration, would bring in better people. They say that we don't give a statistic for the amount, I believe, for the amount of like things like terrorist attacks and one example, but they don't realize that one example of a terrorist attack is too many. There are too many lives being lost because of terrorism. And while we understand that it's countries, that it's not just immigrants, it's obviously American citizens who are making terrorist attacks. American citizens are not something that we can control. We can control the amount of people that come into our country and can hurt other people. For these reasons, we urge you to vote for the thing.
Undeniable arguments that make the judge choose in your favor. I think that's something that can strengthen you. You have so many facts. You're so well researched. Maybe add a personal story in there. What kind of leads to the story? I think you do a good job when you're talking about I don't remember if it's I'm from. They're all totally here. The Trump attack. Why don't we talk about one of the victims? That's pretty even stronger.
We have 2 minutes for a calm defense speech.
Opponents ready?
Yes.
Partner ready? Judge ready? Alright. My time begins now. First of all, our sources that they claimed we didn't have were actually about brain drain, and the man who specifically was suffering from it is from a CNN article. Moving on. As for terrorist attacks, the odds of an American citizen being killed by a terrorist attack by a foreign-born person is 1 in 36 million, and 99% of those people were killed in one attack, and that's 9/11. The odds of being killed by a terrorist are simply minute. More people die in America from obesity rate diseases such as heart disease, which brings up another question. If resources, especially food, is such a concern in America, why is it that obesity kills more people than starvation? It simply doesn't make sense. Also, the RAISE Act, which is about English speaking ability and a kind of assimilation in the United States, among other things, is quite frankly racist. The people who are most likely to speak English are from English-speaking countries, and these countries are predominantly European. And also the RAISE Act has an education requirement, and people from Western countries that do speak English are more likely to be educated than people from developing countries where English isn't the native language. As for assimilation, immigrants actually are assimilating into the United States better than they do in Europe, according to a Harvard study. And also, as for the welfare state, immigrants use less welfare than the average person, and if the American citizens used welfare as much as immigrants, it would be 42% less money spent on it. As for culture assimilation, as for people who might not be used to American culture, people come to America for a reason. It's because they want the American dream. They want to be able to make their own money and raise a family and be successful. And these people want to have the American culture. That's why they come here in the first place. So they want to assimilate, and they can. And by voting con on this, you are making the lives of a lot of immigrants better. Thank you.
How much prep do we have left? Alright. Opponent ready? Partner ready? Judge ready? Alright, my time starts now. So, we have shown throughout this debate that our contentions are stronger than our opponent's contentions. For example, their first contention versus our second contention. Their first contention is that immigrants benefit the economy, ours that it damages the economy. When I said that ours is stronger than theirs because we actually have, we've shown that it's gone down, and they just gave a random number, they did not have a clear response to that. Therefore, we easily win this argument, and that immigrants damage the economy. Also, their second contention versus our third contention, we win this one too because they were talking about how these immigrants could be good people, they could be educated, and they could be smart and stuff. Well, those people are going to be the ones that go through in the RAISE Act. And the RAISE Act is not just about English speaking. If you can't speak English, you won't be allowed in the country. If you have a good education and maybe you can speak some English, that's enough. That's enough with salary and a lot of other stuff. You will be able to be in this country if you are qualified and have an education. And they also said that 1 in 36 million is the likelihood for a terrorist, but two things. One, they never gave a source for that, and two, so 1 in 36 million, that's obviously too much. And terrorist is kind of thrown around, like, it's not just, these bombings, they're not just terrorists. There's so many other terrorist attacks that are not accounted for in this. One life is too much to lose from terrorism. Therefore, that's why we should only allow the people that we know will not damage our country. And they also said that heart attacks are a big issue, but a hospital is a resource, and overpopulation, if it's right there, if there's too many people and not enough hospitals and doctors' offices, then we won't be able to treat everyone. If heart attacks is such a big issue, we won't be able to treat all these people, and a hospital is a resource, not just land, food. There's so many resources that we need, and this is why I urge you to vote pro.
Opponents ready? Partner ready? Judge ready? I'm big ready. Judge, what matters in this debate is the benefit for the immigrant. Are they benefiting more from coming to the United States or being sent back? Well, we're trying to show you that they are benefiting from coming to the United States. First of all, they actually agree with us when they say that people might succeed in the United States. Might is still agreeing that they can, and they have. We've shown you through statistics that they have succeeded in the United States. They did not respond to our point about the welfare state, but more to the point about where this clashes is with the economy. We clearly show you that that they do benefit and grow the economy. They say that no, they don't because if workers increase, then wages must decrease. However, they don't really show you any evidence to show you that this logic is actually valid. Furthermore, they try to say that we're just throwing out numbers, but the only number they threw out is $229 billion, and we clearly show you that there's $224 billion, which actually matches with a statistic that says that the overall wage loss is almost 0%. Next, they try to say that immigrants are costly, but we clearly show you that they do generate high tax revenue. And the only statistics they've given you about their third contention, they haven't given you any statistics about the third contention, but we have. We've shown you that if there's 1 in 36 million chance for a terrorist attack, and that should be held with much more weight than just a couple examples. Judge, we win this debate because we have clearly shown that there's been a benefit to these workers coming to the United States. We have multiple studies that show you that they do grow the economy. They are creating businesses. They are spurring the economy in that way. Brain drain shows you that this that they are beneficial. And these companies need them. These companies are asking for them. These homeless people, they try to give some examples, but they aren't showing you that these people are needed in the United States and they need it to grow the economy. For those reasons, I hope you vote a con ballot. Thank you.